Happy November, Therapy Flow crew. We're excited to talk about the coming season, the lovely holidays, the treachery, the excitement, the exhilaration, and everything in between. And I think that this is a video that you can save and reference kind of year over year, or even like pass off to certain team members if you have an office manager or a COO or other individuals that are involved in strategic planning, decision making, team management, and some of those pieces. Because what we're going to do today is kind of unpack really some success points across 4 categories of your practice for ending the year and starting the new year as a private practice owner in the holidays. Bottom line, the holidays are just filled with way more stuff, and there isn't a lot of removal of other things. There's more drama, there's more time off, there's more sickness, there's more clients canceling, there's more pressure, there's more fill in the blank. There's more of all of it. And we have to have kind of our head screwed on straight if we want to keep our business consistent and set ourselves up for the new year. So we're going to be picking apart kind of 4 categories that you should be thinking through to make that happen.
Yeah, category number one, guys, here is going to be your clients. So when it comes to managing your clients or what's actually happening inside of this client sphere, so understanding like and actually getting your head into the client's head here, some of the elements that are going to be really most beneficial is actually set expectations really early. So we've found time and again, and I'll show you guys maybe a Google Trends report. We found time and again during the holiday season the reason why revenue drops in private practice is actually because people just cancel and have no shows, and you have people like leaving blank spots on the calendars more frequently than not, right? So people are busier, people have weird complications come up, it's lots of family time, it's, oh, I forgot that I had to go do all these things and didn't realize it was crunch time. And so communicate the holiday expectations earlier, and I think also give a little extra support here, right? So how can we
Yeah.
give extra support in these segments? And how can we just not let up on the gas? So how are we continuing to market during this time period when people become forgetful and people have other familial expectations and otherwise? So when it comes to actually, sorry, I was wrapping up my thoughts. When it actually comes to closing out for your clients here, some of the things to consider is just setting those expectations early, have extra support from the start, and don't let up on marketing. I'll let you go.
Within that trends processor report, especially if you're doing performance work like SEO or paid ads, we actually see like the search volume for mental health services during November, December remain pretty steady compared to the rest of the year. There's certain pieces that's really going to drop off, and Attilio's showing it here in terms of kind of the year on interest over time. And so within that, what we do know is if you turn off your ads, if you stop all work, you're going to actually increase the deficit that happens with your natural cancellations and schedule changes, and you're not going to have any pickup or new stuff coming into it. So it's just a big encouragement to maybe even spend a little bit more, and I think, or put in a little bit more effort. Even things like asynchronous email marketing campaigns, other special offers, other forms of ad categories or community partnerships during the seasons, like actually like increase your marketing volume a little bit in November, December, because you will get clients from it. Even if it feels like it's the incorrect time to do marketing, it feels a little bit counterintuitive because you do have current active clients who are in their weekly cadence attempting to make some transitions and changes, even though there's other people who are interested in starting services at this present time. Within that, just that client expectation, email marketing is one of our favorite ways to communicate some of those pieces in terms of where your team is at, expectations, equipping your therapist, which we'll talk about in just a second, on how to talk about these different transitions, cancellation policies, other pieces in session, and even encouraging people to book 2 sessions in a week or move it from the Wednesday that's Christmas to Friday. And then the next category outside of your clients that we want to talk about is your team in general, and then even your clinicians. So one thing that's really important to note, especially if you're clinicians, if you do any sort of fee split with yourself or your clinicians, which is almost all of you, if they take less sessions in and through the holidays, their income is going to be less. So to some degree, they should be incentivized to figure out how to fit in more sessions. And it just might be giving permission to your team to open up some Saturday slots for reschedules, or open up some evening slots, Monday and Tuesday, the week of Christmas. So that way they can get sessions in and take off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? Or whatever it is. And you kind of need to lead your team through what this looks like. And maybe it means having an individual conversation with every clinician on your team, because this impacts your revenue. If you don't strategize, you actually won't know the full deficit that takes place. If they take themselves off their calendar, they don't have good client conversations, or they decide to cancel sessions one day because they just aren't feeling it and they want to spend more time with their family, and we didn't have a tough conversation with the entire team about it ahead of time, and suddenly like, oh, 10, 20, $40,000 of monthly revenue is gone just because of some movement on the calendar of when we're selecting session completions.
Yeah, now is the time to start doing your training. Now is the time to have these conversations. And I think it's important, if you've never done it before, set a cyclical training for the holidays. And you
Yeah.
can actually even reuse this training during the summer months when mindset changes and when thoughts are different, even though there's not actually a change in the actual market need for therapy during summer. So
Yeah.
if you remember back to the graph, maybe jump back just a second to look at the graph. But in the only gaps in when people are seeking mental health is going to be that week in between Christmas and New Year's. That's the only significant drop from the norm on the trends graph. And so I think it's really important to keep in mind that there are trainings, there are hard conversations that have to be done. And because it only happens twice a year, it's really hard for you to stay consistent with these types of conversations with your team. And it's important to set something maybe in stone, or something that you can improve over the year, or the next year, or the 2 years, or 3 years down the line. And so create a training for yourself. If you haven't, create a training for your clinicians, and create something that allows you to set great expectations, to reset some mindset, and to set up a system where you can actually find success. I really like the idea of, hey, maybe have a couple extra slots open for yourself, or just since we're expecting like 10 or 20% more cancellations than normal, like maybe we're just opening up some additional slots. Or if the
Yeah.
clinician's actually taking time off, what does the scheduling system actually look like? And are they servicing their clients in an effective way? So have like, do they have a plan for their clients so that the clients get the continuation of care that they're expecting? So all great questions that really should be brought up. And it's something that needs to be hit on like twice a year minimum, before the
Definitely.
summer slump, and before the December sort of like winter dip at the end of the year here.
Yeah. When you're in a mental health business, this is true to some degree with all businesses, but in a mental health business, it is so people centric. Your product is people, meaning the service is fully and 100% delivered by people. Very few practices have like anything turnkey, digital, even like digital education, right? It's the therapy session, and that is the service. Your clients are people, not other businesses even, which just does change the conversation. And so the person that's receiving the service, I'll use a different example. If you are a company that does work on landscaping, yes, people buy the service and people have to physically do the landscaping, but the thing that receives your product, your work is an inanimate object. It's your grass and it's your front lawn. And so like that's not true. The same person who's buying the service is often like directly immediately receiving the service from another person, managed by an admin team, by an upper practice owner. And like at every stage, look left, look right, there's almost people, and there's a little bit of software, EHR, other things holding this all together, sure, but all of this needs to be led through on an individual level during the holiday season through training and through productive conversations, through the client lens and through your team lens. Because if you don't, then the people are going to do whatever they need to do or they think is best or they want to accomplish. And that's going to impact your business revenue quite considerably until it resets and normalizes at the turn of the year.
I think one of the most profound elements to this, and you kind of, this will lead us into the next point, but if you stop marketing during these segments where there's a drop off, or if you don't actually address these concerns, the slump or the dip in revenues actually gets extended significantly. So if you like turn off your ads, or if you stop doing those blogs that you've been doing weekly or bi-weekly, or if you stop spending in certain categories and you'll just like pick it up later, what ends up happening is when you pick it up later, it takes time to ramp up again. And so the summer slump that would have been 1 week now turns into, or the winter slump that would have been 1 week now turns into like 3 to 6 weeks of it just catching back up and connecting again. And this goes the same for your clinicians. If they're like rescheduling or if they're booking themselves out like a week of time and their continuation of care was maybe like left up to the wind or just like, whenever you're ready to come back after the holidays, let me know. Like that situation turns into 3 or 6 weeks after that the clients will rebook. And so this is so important to stay on top of, set expectations, and have a system during the holiday season that really and if you don't want your clinicians to complain for 6 weeks because their caseloads have dropped sharply, so to save yourself a little bit of pain, maybe this is so imperative. And so to move on to some of the next points here, this is like you and the holidays. So set some clear priorities and build some momentum now. Josh, I'll let you go ahead and hit on those.
Yeah. I want to touch briefly on the last piece for your clinicians. I know that many of you want to do some kind of gifts, some sort of celebration for your team or your process. And just my encouragement is to value experiences over physical objects or gifts or gift cards or whatever else for two reasons. It's a chance to build team culture, to bring your team, maybe even their spouses, together for either in-person events or virtual events, virtual cocktail hours. We did one of those last year with our entire team, virtual magic show, in-person dinner, in-person white elephant gift party, whatever it is. Those are chances for you to build cohesion with your team and your process instead of just trying to give something. And then it also is just a chance for you to complete the year for yourself and collectively for the team and set your sights on whatever's next and communicate some of those pieces. And then that's where it comes to you as the business owner right now and what you should be thinking through. Number one is your own time is being stuffed full of extra things. Family asking you to travel, school days being taken off. You know, some of your kids' school are being given a week or a week and a half, right? And then around the holidays. So now you've got more childcare than you normally have to figure out or to work around. You've got all these other new priorities. So that means you have to go in the reverse with your business and be hyper focused on what you really can't have interrupted over the next 2 months. What are the true things you make sure you don't want to drop on a plate level? And you kind of have to let the rest of it go. There are things that you're going to have to say no to inside of the business and outside of the business in order to say yes to certain really important things inside the business and yes to important things outside the business. And I think the most common element that I've seen year over year with business owners and practice owners is it's just way too much. So unless you sit down and you filter the stream of information, the things that are being asked of you, the priorities that are coming at you and just begging for you to say yes to everything, that's going to be the fastest way to just like burn out and overextend yourself and kind of flop during this season instead of see some level of productivity and precision.
Yeah. Yeah. So guys, as we're kind of preparing for the end here, I think what we should be considering most is, do you have a training in place? Do you have a set plan that you're going to make progress on? Do you have clear priorities? And how will you be capitalizing on this change? For better or for worse, we have a change here. And how are we capitalizing maybe on some of this momentum? Take a couple seconds. Do you have all these things in place? Maybe yes, maybe no. So, what does this maybe look like for the future of your practice? Josh, did you have anything you wanted to add there?
The last piece that I would just hit on is go through that list that Attilio just asked you if you had and start there. There's so many ways to see success over the next month or two. Just start there. Do you have a plan in place for the next month or two to make sure you're successful across your team, across your clients, and across yourself?
Yeah. Do you have a plan? Sometimes you think you have a plan, but is it actually like a plan that you can take real action on? That might
Yeah.
be one last addition. Well, let's talk a little bit about your future practice and the holidays. Did you have something?
I was just going to say that the first piece when you think about scheduling planning is the closer we get, there's probably a perfect zone. Thanksgiving is like right at the end of November this year. Sometimes there's like a week after, but it's like the last thing. So really that first weekish of December is probably going to be your most optimal time for strategic planning for quarter one and even the entire year for next year. It's probably where you're going to have the calm before the full storm. If you wait until the even probably the second, third, much less fourth week of December, there's just going to be too much noise going on. And you all know what it feels like to sit in a crowded restaurant and you're being overstimulated by all of the noise and the pieces. And it's not like fun when you're trying to have an important conversation or do something else. You're not. And that's kind of what it feels like on a business, on a life level, when you're trying to really focus and produce some good work for the next year. So my encouragement is whatever your rhythms are, we can probably do another piece of content on healthy strategic planning, or you can search our Facebook group or YouTube channel, find some of our other pieces that we've done on that. But whatever your strategic planning process is for quarterly or for annual goals and process, my encouragement is set aside that time period to get that done with you and the team in that first week of December. So that way it's done and you feel rock solid with it right after the new year as you want to build momentum again.
Yeah. Planner, like I think last year, actually, Josh and I planned the whole year ahead of time. And we had it segmented by quarters. It was really cool, actually. We have a masterclass for year planning, don't we? So if you're a
Yeah.
current client, go check out some of our masterclass stuff. Maybe we'll repost it somewhere.
Yeah.
It works out really well. Plan your whole year. And if you're really ambitious, maybe plan 2 or 5 years ahead of time. Um, it's gonna help you a lot. And maybe to put a capstone on all of this, this is also a really good time to kind of reflect and, for better or for worse, celebrate what you've done, what you wish you could have done better, um, and and maybe have some grace for yourself for this year. It's the end of the year, right? The end of the year is going to come no matter what, and so it's the end of the year, and so just really dig in and do a little bit of celebration for yourself, even if it's just a small little dance or something while you're sipping some coffee or looking out the window or however you celebrate. That's not how I celebrate necessarily. So, but just do a little celebration, have some quick reflection, have a little gratitude for what you've been through and what you've done. And then how is that going to shape and change? Knowing that we can all change and we all have the power to change here. Is change what's required for you to be successful? Do you need to maybe just stay the same? Do you need to stay the course? And just have a little bit of maybe energy and build some momentum for yourself in the brain, and the emotional space, and in the
Yeah.
mental space for what it's going to take next year and beyond for you to reach really what you want to do with your team and your clients and your business.
Within that, if you cook a really great meal, whether it tastes good or tastes bad, right? If you're ending this year, having done this year for private practice and you got all the goals that you wanted, or you didn't get all the goals that you wanted, probably dirtied some dishes along the way, created some mess, slopped up your counters, did a bunch of stuff, right? The best thing you can do for yourself if you want to cook another meal. So we're assuming that you want to continue to build momentum and do some cool things in 2025 for your business is make space for that new meal that you want to cook. Yes, that looks like planning, going grocery shopping, going through your list and whatever, but part of that means just sitting, cleaning your space, washing the dishes, resetting to wherever you're at, and getting in a mental frame that you can do it again. And without some sort of reflection, some celebration, some acknowledgement, there's just not going to be a lot of space to process the year of work that you just hauled on, and what a year it was, and the next year that you want to do. Go with grace, build a big business, be consistent in the next couple of weeks here.
See y'all next time.